Hello, animation fans, and welcome to another iAnimate podcast. I'm your host, Larry Vasquez, and you're listening to episode 86. In this episode, we have Brad Faucheux joining us. Brad is one of our feature and games instructor, as well as one of our past students. So it was a really neat treat to get him in on this podcast. He's worked in film, television, cinematics, games, VR, you name it. And he seems to have kind of touched a little bit of everything on that. He's worked on such projects as Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Book of Life, Freebirds, Overwatch 2, so a lot of really cool projects, and it was just a neat opportunity to get in one of our former students, current instructors, and just hear his passion for the medium. So check it out. So Brad, first off, I'd like to thank you. I know we're working around schedules. It's always great to get you guys in here. And as I was kind of briefly mentioning beforehand, you've got a really cool resume, I think, for on a couple levels. One, I was looking at it. You've been in film, television, cinematics, games, VR, and you're one of our former students. So you've got this whole layer here that we get to get into on this podcast. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh man, thank you guys, man. It's a pleasure to be back. It's like full circle, you know.
Yeah.
I just started off listening and joining iAnimate. Now I'm back here like teaching. And I mean, what's up? What's happening?
That's right. Oh, I forgot to layer that one in. Not only you're a former student, you're one of our instructors. That's right.
Yeah.
Both in feature and in games. So yeah.
It is a pleasure, and I'm happy to be here and talk the biz. To
Cool. Very cool. And that's why I wanted to wrangle in my buddy Rick on this one here too, primarily because he's so heavily involved in games. And so I think it's just going to make it a fun conversation here. So animation, how did you get into it? What did you want to, I mean, I know you've been in film, TV, now in games. Kind of tell us a little bit how you weaved that through.
Oh man, that's the $1 million question, huh? Animation. Dude, well, yeah, it all started back, when I was in diapers, literally. I think possibly the first memory I could actually pinpoint was watching my television with my mom on the left, my dad on the right. And it must have been maybe, I don't want to like outdate it or whatever, but it was probably like Disney's Pinocchio or something like that. Maybe. I'm not sure, but I know it was either Pinocchio, Little Mermaid, or some kind of Warner Brothers cartoon.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But as she can tell you, I grew up pretty much babysat on the television, right? And my mom was working, right? My dad was working. And I just remember I was like in my little half a lazy boy, probably like bottle in the mouth, listening and singing to like Disney tunes. So Disney was the ultimate suspect, like it was the reason for the being, right? Had all the VHSs growing up, and I had this weird talent, and it's kind of like my secret talent. Like I memorized all of the Disney movies by heart. So like I can like literally recite the whole movie for you right here, right now. Do the musical numbers and all that, and that got me beat up a lot in school as growing up, right?
For real.
Yeah,
like, no, hang on, guys. Let me finish this. Let me finish
I know,
this.
right? Yeah. It still gets me beat up today. So, but yeah, man, it was just that growing up and loving that, excuse to watch these films and of course the cartoons growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through the years, I started gaining more channels, right? More knowledge of how to use the clicker. And then knowing that there was other cartoons out there. So, Merry Melodies, Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera, Saturday morning cartoons. Whew. I mean, that was like late 80s baby's life right there. Bowl of cereal, catch the Saturday morning cartoons, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
Man. Like literally, what is this stuff? But I would say the origins probably came from, because all the VHSs, right? They used to have like the previews beforehand. I don't know if anybody knows what VHS is nowadays, because I feel kind of dated talking VHS. What? Like video. Exactly. Right. But they used to have the previews before the movie and sometimes previews after the movie. And I was lucky to get a making of The Rescuers Down Under.
Oh, cool.
Right? And I remember that vividly, like watching that and seeing how this movie was made. And then they showed the animators, right? And I remember Ruben Aquino talking about Bernard And I remember Kathy Zielinski talking about her animating Frank. And then, of course, there was a small guy there named Glenn Keane. Don't know if you know him or not.
Heard of.
Little guy, little guy up in the industry, Glenn Keane. He was animating, of course, Marahute. And then when I saw that process, I think that's when the bug bit. Like, I was like, this is like, I was small at the time. I was like, this is a job. Like, I'm like, this is what you can do. And then I started drawing, man. And I think the rest from there on was like history. I just, at a young age, I said, I'm going to be an animator, one day. And I remember telling my mom that, and she remembered as well. So
that's cool.
Very cool, man. I think that's where it started.
Now, was that on the, where are you originally from?
Louisiana.
Yeah. Okay. So not a whole lot of animation there per se.
No. I think like Louisiana is pretty much football, hunting, gator shooting, and
crawfish.
There you go. Richard knows what I'm talking about. The crawfish, right?
Yeah,
crawfish, good cooking, and a lot of textile and chemical power plants. That gets worked on down there. But yeah, not a lot of animation. It was hard to come by, especially when I was looking for school.
Gotcha.
Decision to go. I always thought animation was in Disney World, right? We're in Florida, so I had to get there somehow, right?
Now, did you were you taking iAnimate from Louisiana, or did you move around by that time?
Oh man, I think it was interesting because I took when I got involved in iAnimate, I was already in the industry. I think.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, my first iAnimate course was after my first feature job, believe it or not. I was pretty naive, getting out of college and pretty like obnoxious, saying like, I don't need online schools. What the hell? What is this stuff? Like so all this fancy people with their webcams and their videos online. And I work at the biggest hotspot. It's like
I got my degree. Yeah,
exactly. Right. I know what I'm doing. Right. And all that paid off, I guess, because I actually got in the industry, believe it or not. I got my first apprentice job at RealFX.
Nice.
And then, but once I got there, like, I was like, oh crap, I need help.
Yeah.
like I was literally like,
on the real, like,
exactly. Like all these people were the super elites when I got there, right? And I was thinking, I'm gonna get fired like the next week. I'm like,
imposter syndrome. Now you realize the skill set is different.
Right.
I'm ready, and then there's the professional, and you're sitting right next to them, and you see the work. It's like you did that in a day. And you're like.
Yeah. And I was like, what? How? And then I'm like, literally like, Kung Fu, just the journey continues. I'm like, teach me, please. And I got humbled really, really quick. And then after, of course, RealFX, I had a gap between trying to find new work when I was like, you know what? It's time to like really do this right, do it the right way. And so I started looking for a couple of courses, and then that's when I signed up for iAnimate.
Very cool.
And I think Steve Melligrano was my first instructor.
Nice.
And Luke Randall after that.
Very cool.
So, it was.
What I love about that too is because I think I don't know if there's a misconception or not. I know we have workshops from ground zero all the way through, but because we're not an accredited school, we're able to open things up where you can kind of come in and take workshops here and there. And so that it works out perfectly for,
and that's really important.
Professionals like you.
Yeah, that's really important because something that, we remind our students and everyone who's listening, no matter where you are in your journey, we're there for you. iAnimate is there for you.
Yeah.
You can, perfect example with Brad, right? He got in, he realized, man, cool. I got in, Lady Luck was on my side. However, I realized that, on paper, I have the paper, but I wasn't ready. I need to get the skills. We're there. And regardless where you are in your career, we will help you. If you need to start at the beginning, right? Then you start at the beginning. And that is actually potentially a better thing because you have a stronger foundation and you will grow much quicker as an artist. So, it's key.
Yeah.
Even after my experience in working in animation, like even today, like I still get a little rusty here and there. And it's I always kind of come back and go to, like, I have instructors at work. I have fellow instructors who I work with. And I also keep in touch with, my mentors at all. And I'm constantly pursuing feedback. Because even us instructors, we need help too.
Yeah.
No, or at least I do.
Yeah. No,
I definitely need some feedback.
There's one of our instructors. He's been in the industry for a couple decades and at the highest level. And he said, "Hey, do we have access to Jason Ryan's quadrupeds?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Well, he wanted to brush up on that. And so it's that same kind of thing. It's just, there's that constant growth. And that's why I love that you're mentioning that, because I go from a professional standpoint. Here you are, have already been working in the industry, you're teaching, and you're still brushing up. You're constantly wanting to learn. I love that, man.
And I will tell this, I'm going to share a secret. Here's a gold nugget. Some of the greatest animators are not just, they don't see themselves, or they call themselves the masters, but they're actually master students. They continue learning. I'm continuing learning. I'm going through my old stuff right now. Like I've went through my old stuff and I was like, man, that's good. I'm bringing that back. Or, I talk with other colleagues. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. We're master learners. A real master is a master student, right?
Yeah.
He masters how to learn and how to continue to develop. As someone that just learns, he becomes great. The question is, can you stay there? Can you follow the trends? Can you be with the expectations? Because expectation always grow.
Right.
The real ones, the real greats, are continuously polishing and working on their craft. So I applaud you, Brad, for being humble and knowing that we always have to reach out. And I think that's an example of what iAnimate is about. We always learn. So
yeah. Oh yeah. No, most definitely. Thank you too, Richard. Like I look at this as kind of like the Jedi Council, like we're all in a circle, and then you got the Yodas and you got the like the whoever's in higher standards. And I'm always like talking. I don't feel like I'm there yet. And I'm just like, please, like talk, like give me some advice. I hunger for your knowledge and stuff. And then of course, Richard's talking backwards to me. Like he's like,
that's just because Richard's tired. Like, Rich, what are you doing? I have no idea, man. I am so
coffee
tired.
I need. Yeah, no,
coffee I need. Like, what are we reviewing? Like that is a common saying I have that you stop. I don't walk in the studio, but I go online and I'm like, so what are we reviewing today? Like what topic, the meetings, but that is funny, man.
No.
So how far after, what happened after you take the workshops here at iAnimate?
Oh man, yeah, I'm trailblazing right now.
'Cause you got to work on some really cool films over at RealFX too, and one being Book of Life.
Yeah. I was working with Jorge Gutierrez, Book of Life.
That's awesome, man.
Dallas, and Jorge was such a sweetheart. He hands down was the one and only guy that sold me on the film. Like from that
Very
pitch,
cool.
From the previews, like I was instantly hooked. That's what I always said. I was like, I made the film for him. Like when I worked about a year and a half to it, I was like, yeah, it was all for you, Jorge.
That's cool.
That's El Jefe, he's on at Netflix. He's on at Netflix doing bigger and better things now. And, really sweet man.
Just released a podcast with Rod Douglas, who was a storyboard artist on that. And he just had some great things to say about Jorge as well.
Yeah. And then looking back on that, it's like, man, just the experience and the people that were there at the time and then sharing all that knowledge and working on the film. I really cherished that. And especially being in Texas where all that barbecue was, baby.
Oh, no.
You couldn't get any work. You couldn't get any work done after, lunch or dinner time. It was all, you were in a food coma after
siesta,
the case, Yeah. And it's like, my animation has so many calories. Oh, what's going on here? But then after that, I took some classes, right? And I really focused on my reel because I remember asking one of my supervisors at the time, his name was Rich McCain, awesome dude. And I said, what could I focus on? What could I work on? And then he was just like, love to see some more acting from you.
Mm.
Because of course, like working on the film, I did a bunch of backgrounds and a bunch of idles and just learned how to production was flowing, getting my feet wet. And I was like, okay, cool. And then when I signed up, I took the workshop with Luke Randall. I think it was full body acting as well.
Mhm.
And then really was like, crap, I got to get my body mechanics solid too. So I took body mechanics, with Melagrano, and then just started working on my reel and really nailing, down the fundamentals before I got into acting.
Nice.
And then from there, I did a small job in Florida, utilizing VR while I was taking class too. So I was grinding, man. I was putting the time in my own job as well as out of my job too. So I was just absorbing animation, like getting hit in the face, left and right tutorials, keyframes. And I think, no, A-Tools wasn't out yet, but it was just like whatever nitpicks, like Tween Machine was pretty hot at the time. So I was like, ooh, this is tight, and I could apply that to my workflow. And I was like looking at AWE pickers and like looking at Les Banks, Anim tools and stuff. And I was just like looking for every small little nook and cranny and nice little new piece of tech I could add to Maya to help my workflow, to really get a sense of how to animate. Because in feature, it was quick. You get assigned maybe like 5 or 6 feet a week. And I've never seen animators animate so fast, but at such a high quality level. So I was trying to develop that mindset. It's like, all right, I want to learn, but also, not lollygag or, not like drag ass or whatever, but just like get quick, get proficient. And then after that, picked up a job at Ninja Turtles, working at Bardel Animation, which was a dream come true, man.
That's awesome.
I'm like a Turtles nutball, like school me anything Ninja Turtles, man. I was in heaven working on that. And that was like the TV grind, so I really got my feet wet working there.
Now, did you learn how to animate quickly there? That would seem like that would be a good environment.
RealFX.
Obviously not or I'm saying no at Bardel.
Oh, at Bardel. Yeah. I knew how to apply myself because I think I picked up the time management and also the discipline at RealFX. I consider RealFX kind of like my school, like my,
boot camp.
Exactly.
I think with RealFX,
right.
If you don't mind, RealFX really set the standard because, when RealFX started, they had some real heavy hitters. The expectation was, it was industry expectation. And you literally like say, oh, that's where I need to hit.
Exactly.
And you're like, and you're using that as your benchmarks. Like, I need to climb this mountain so I can say I can hit this quality. You started with iAnimate to add more to your skill set. Right. You learn these skill set. You have this studio to practice and apply all these learnings. And that is like, and it's a similar story to many animators, is that you need to find a place where you're comfortable and you're challenged and like the expectation to hit, and you have time to practice and iterate. And I keep telling students, it's not about one big shot, it's about multiple learnings and how you can grow as an artist.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think RealFX was that. And then again, something I also tell to the students is once you learn your process, then you need many years.
Exactly.
Let me tell you, many years.
Yeah.
And in my standard, where I get to sit on the Jedi Council, the minimum years, like I see, it takes at least 10 years before you master your own skill before you're ready to take to the next skill set, which is it's crazy. Right. So I think you had that. A great place to start your career. I mean, RealFX is a phenomenal place to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And at the time, like you had said, Richard, they were really trying to prove themselves because before their first feature, Freebirds, like they were just a commercial house, right?
Yeah.
They worked in a bunch of, and it was high level, high end stuff.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys remember like those Looney Tunes shorts that they made.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They Daffy's Rhapsody and a bunch of those Wile E. Coyote ones, which
phenomenal.
I never seen anything like at that time. That was hot. Like that was, dude. What's going on over here, right? Like, what are you guys doing? And still to this day, like Daffy's Rhapsody is like my favorite animated short. Like I've seen on DVD. And at that time, they brought all these people from Pixar and DreamWorks and Disney under this one house, and they were like, "Okay, guys, we're doing a feature, so let's get to work." And I was like there around that time, and I think that added to, oh, this is how you guys do it from other studios, right?
Nice.
Yeah. In that environment, I think, and I really want people to understand that environment is an amazing environment to learn from. We try to replicate that, iAnimate. When you come here, it's like, great, understand what your skills are now. That is your new base. That's where you start. Anything less than that, well, if you took if you would cut my class, I know I could be pretty firm. It's just how it is. I'd be like, no, that's unacceptable. That is your baseline.
Right.
Anything under that is unacceptable.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you only hit that, it's unacceptable.
Exactly.
I expect you to hit here. This is everyone gets their own, we tailor to every student and give every student their own expectation.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, hey, this is what you hit. And that you have that environment, the students will learn that, know that you experience that and you're going to bring that to your class. Right. So I think that is such an advantage for them to know that story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen those early episodes of you, Richard. Yeah. I'm binge watching them in the vault. Right. It's like season 1, of Richard's iAnimate class,
I was holding back too.
That's the good content, right? That's like the hell. That's like the Hell's Kitchen of iAnimate, right? Coming back from war, right?
Yeah.
Are you stupid? Yeah.
No. I wouldn't say that, but I'll be like,
kidding.
I do have like, there's some. I do ask the questions like,
oh yeah,
do you understand what you're presenting me, right? Like,
and that's a good point too, because just in my new classes, that's like my first promise to like my new students is like, I will treat you as if you're working right next to me, and I'm not going to hold back on you at all. It's like, I can be your friend, but I'm almost not here to be your friend. I'm here to teach you.
Yeah.
I'm here to really give you the insight of what we expect here.
We're going to jam on this, Larry. I'm going to say something because, Brad and I have been talking since he started. We have our good one-on-one sessions, and you just said the right thing is that all our instructors iAnimate, they are real mentors. And there's a different kind of relationship. So I have mentees. I have, personal mentees that I coach, other directors that I coach. But that relationship, it is a commitment relationship. Like, they're committing to listening to you, do or die, and learn from you. I'm committing that I will put you through, anything, but always help you progress. And there is a friendship, but that friendship is the friendship that we provide to our students is always of service of your growth. Mm-hmm. And that's why we make a promise. It's like, I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Exactly.
What you need to hear to come. And that you just said it like, I promise my student, like, I'm there to help you. I'm there to support you. However, when you're down, I'm going to lift you up. And if you're too slow, I will push you. And if you're going to fall off, I'll catch you and say, hey, you're going off track. Let's get back on track. So I love that you mentioned that. And it's such a simple word. I make a promise to my students. That says it all right there. Yeah.
It's like I want to provide them what I would want if I, was starting in anything new, to at least be truthful, be honest, but also push me where I need help, like it's like no holds barred, right? Yeah. I'm providing a service, but especially on the first day, that's usually what I like to talk to my students and ensure them. I'm like, hey, I've been there. I know what it feels like. I got you, I'm gonna help you too. So it's just that connection between teacher and student that I really like, as like Luke and, Meligrano, and plenty of my mentors at Blizzard too have like always kind of set me back, where sometimes I was getting a little too frisky and a little too excited, and they'd be like, hey, calm down, buddy. Take it slow. They kind of gotta like put me in my corner and just like remind me. I'm like, hey, look, it takes time. All right. It's like, not there yet. All right. But it'll come. Right. And it's like, okay, yeah, got it.
Yes,
I'm like, right. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. So what were some of the things that you learned at Bardel working on TMNT? I know it was a really cool actiony series, obviously.
Dude, yeah, Bart, man, that was exciting. It went by so fast. It's like, oh yeah, what actually happened there? Because we were making magic, like we were ripping out season 5 like crazy. And one of the big things was their style and how they approached animation. Like every new studio has a different pipe, a different workflow, and like different stages of animation. Bardel was unique because first off, we were working with Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon storyboarded pretty much like everything that we do. And if you haven't seen Nickelodeon storyboards, they are phenomenal. They're like legitimately hardcore. And I guarantee you many animators have worked on that, because some of those, you get those storyboards that are animated. And I'm like, oh, dude, this guy went to town on that. Right. And it's like, I want that shot. Right. Or like, I'm like, give me that one. But yeah, what I've learned there is pretty much, because first off, it's television. A lot of these things need to be ripped out really quick. But I've also learned that previs is essential. Getting your idea out quick and dirty helps with the process as far as moving forward. They want everything matched to the storyboards, but also the next 2 phases are pretty much get it into spline, right? Get it into body mechanics and animating. And the third is just facial animation, right? So it's like, okay, a lot of my time is just going to be spent in the beginning stages, right? Getting that block out, getting that staging, because I don't know if you watch TMNT, a lot of that stuff is pretty hardcore. Their fights, their choreography. Yeah. How do you get from this pose to that pose? And sometimes I remember this one shot, I had a Splinter kicking these foot in the butt with like a broomstick, and he had 3 poses. He had yah, and yah, right? And then I was like, okay, how do I get from yah to yah? You know, like what is this and that? You know, like what's in between that? And you're like, yeah, well, you figure it out, right? And they're like, you're the animator, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, so I started blocking something really quick. And by doing it there, by getting it in really dirty, like I think Jimmy Hayward, the director of Freebirds, used to say it like popsicle stick theater. And he was just like, I don't care what it looks like, just get something in front of the camera, get some movement in there to give me an idea what you're thinking, so I can improve that or push you forward, right?
Yeah,
that's what cool. I did on Turtles. I got in there rough and loose, really loosey-goosey. And then once I got a flow as far as the fight choreography or the shape change or a good feeling, I could start jumping into blocking plus, right? Which was just like literally getting the body mechanics, getting the weight. And then it was like that. It was rinse and repeat, next shot. And of course, I adapted over that. Almost like Richard said earlier, it's like the more shots and the more animation that you do, it's literally rinse and repeat again and again. And you're only muscle as good memory. As your last shot, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. So it's just
thank you.
So, but also too, it's you're applying what you've learned to the previous shot to your next one. Right. And it's like making that clay pot over and over again. You know, you're just developing your skills, developing your workflow, and then finding your groove. You know, that's what I always said. It's like, I'm here for like 3 or 4 months. I haven't found my groove just yet. But when we start we start popping, and it's like, okay. And I started finding a lot more efficient workflow in Bardel. I think that's what I've learned probably more than anything, was just how to like really like plan out ahead of time what I'm going to animate and then apply that. Right.
Let me ask you this, right? Mm-hmm. So you had learned a lot of the process, right? Go back to RealFX. You learned a lot. Yeah. You had a lot of people showing how they do it. Do you find this is where you're saying, okay, I learned all these different way of approaching and tackling a shot. This is where I think you were like expressing yourself and finding your method, right? And that's why you were just kind of finding your groove.
Yeah. And I love that. And even today, I still kind of add and subtract from my workflow, because dudes, like, what are we in 2021 right now? And then when was Animbot turned loose? Like that tool came out. Yeah. And was like, dude, if I had that, at least, yeah, well, it was like 8 tools at the time. Yeah. And now it's like adding more and more new tools to the game, and like more utilities to your belt. You're like, dude, if I had this in college, I'd be like, oh my God, right? And I'm adding and subtracting to my workflow. And the cool thing about my mentors and coworkers at Blizzard is that every once in a while we have kind of like a little demo for each animator to show off kind of how they do things. Nice. What's their favorite tools? What do they like? IK, FK, IK spine, FK spline, like, you know, weighted, unweighted tangents. and I'm watching them and I'm like picking off a few things here and there. It's almost kind of like exercising. I don't know if everybody likes to do it, but when you're in the gym, you want to feel good about working out, you know, and it's almost like, okay, this is working for me. I'm getting like a couple of, you know, good size on my bicep on this exercise. Maybe I'll keep doing that. Right. Same thing with animation. It's like, okay, I like that method. I like the way that, you know, they use these tools in order to get this kind of result. Maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll take away what I'm doing and use this hotkey for both of these things like that. Right. And it's almost like mix and matching and finding out what you like to do. And
I mean, that's growth. You're challenging your creative muscle, right? It is a creative muscle. Like, you know, you know, we say workflow and, you know, I have an opinion on that, but you're challenging yourself of how you tackle a problem. You're seeing how others do it. And you're like, maybe my way works. It's been working for, you know, whatever the 20 years or more you've been doing it. But now it's like, you know, it's like, oh, but they did like that. That's quite interesting. Is my way still the best way?
Right.
Well, actually, let me try. And like, maybe it comes to the same thing. Maybe you need to do it a few times. And sometimes you just add, like I add things. I'm like, oh, that's how you set that up. Or that cue is great to develop, you know, the character, you know, so.
Yeah. It's all about, it's not like basically changing your workflow, but almost adding to it, just trying out new techniques that can maybe speed your workflow or help it along. I really like how every animator has its own individual workflow. I think that's really amazing, and I support that too, because I just think that makes them very unique in the way they approach stuff, and each other animator can learn from each other instead of like looking to like the top animator, the number one. I think sharing methods like that and looking how each other works can help you progress. Right. So I really dig the whole workflow aspect of it.
Very nice. Now, how much, so, you know, cinematics and the level that Blizzard is producing and the games as well is different than what you were doing for television, you know? So how much did your workflow change, you know, jumping into cinematics and games, or was it just a slight modification on how you were doing things?
Oh, right. So television, I really look back and I was like, man, I wish I had more time and more feedback, because I was actually outsourcing when I was working on TMNT. I had a supervisor there, but also like the main team was in Vancouver and I was working in Kelowna, you know, because it's a little cheaper there, you know, like to live there. And I was like, you know, trying to save a buck or two, you know, some CAD here and there. But what I really liked was the feedback was coming basically via email and via instructions. So like I didn't really have too much one-on-one time versus when I got to Blizzard, you know, that was my next job, of course. And then Blizzard, that was like, that's AAA, you know, AAA cinematics. If you've seen the World of Warcrafts, it's so super high realistic. And what I found out was like all of that was keyframe, but a lot of the time was put into each shot, each crevice, each detail. I learned so much at Blizzard, and it gave me vibes of RealFX again, because here was a place where not only people, there's like 20-year vets working there. Right. And I remember watching the Warcraft 2 trailer. I think it was around, oh my God, it was probably around 2010-ish or 2009.
No, 11, 13,
2011. It was when it was when Jason Ryo just started iAnimate, because I remember him.
Okay, that's 2010 then.
Yeah, he was coming. Okay, yeah. You got it. I don't deny you.
No.
It's like, I don't deny your knowledge, master. It's like, please forgive me. But anyway, no, Jason came in. I remember that. But they showed that trailer, and I was like, holy crap! I've never seen like cinematics like this. And all it was just a guy walking into a room and putting armor on himself, but it looks so realistic. I was like, is that keyframed? Is that mocap? That doesn't look mocap. Like, what is that? And you get into Blizzard, you see how they do it. And exactly, I said, Richard, really grounded. Like they have solid foundations. And if you notice, Blizzard has everything that they do is just huge armor. big characters, huge ogres, and then everything has a sense of weight to it. So that was like the biggest thing I learned at Blizzard was weight. It's just all about believability, you know, and how you can make these giant creatures, fantasy things feel alive, you know, but also pushing that style. So
now, did you come on as a cinematics animator or games into Blizzard first?
Yeah. So I started in cinematics, right, on Overwatch. I think I did Hearthstone is Home, the musical.
Yeah,
and
that was great.
You got some great stuff on there.
That was a surprise. Yeah, that was.
You were pushed hard on that, eh?
Oh yeah. Like I felt like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Like I came in expecting like, dude, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo. And I'm like, oh, Hell's Gates. This is going to be dope. Like, what are we working on? He goes, we're working on a musical. I'm like, what? I'm like,
hey, but that brings you back down to your Disney stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I really got an adrenaline kick after that, because like as soon as I saw those characters and I heard that musical, like I instantly was like, oh my God, this is like Tangle. This is like Tangle.
Yeah.
And then I got like super excited. So, and oh my God, I think that was like possibly my favorite. I think that was my favorite project. It was my first project, but I got a special place in my heart for that one because it was my first musical I did. And I had a musical shot on my demo reel at the time. So I was just like, did that have anything to do with you picking me up? And you were like, maybe. You know?
and I tell all the feature students, it's like, hey, get a musical piece.
Yeah.
Sure, it could be intense singing to the camera. Right. It could come in sliding in the big one, you know, you need that. If you want to get into film or you want to get into Blizzard, right?
I know, right? It's like, who would have thought Blizzard would have picked you up for a musical? And guess what? 20 years later, after Blizzard started, we're doing a musical, you know, so never say never, right?
Yeah. You know, your shots on your reel that you have for that one particular just are really, really nice, man.
Thanks,
really nice stuff there.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. I really wish I can go back and animate that character.
Now, was that a tough transition coming from TV to that one? Because that was obviously at a high level, and obviously you had the skills to do it. But I'm just wondering, you know, just that jump mindset and everything else.
It's funny that you should mention that, because like I felt more at home in Blizzard because that was more the cinematic approach. That was more their workflow I was very familiar with.
Gotcha.
Like getting an idea in, blocking, plussing it, and getting the director's approval, and then moving your way into body mechanics, then splining, then polishing stuff. That was my initial workflow versus television, where it was basically just 3 keyframes and okay, animate it all the way through, right? And then get like, and try to make it look nice, right? You know, at the end, you didn't get as much time, but also you had a style, right? You had a very snappy pose to pose style,
right?
That Ninja Turtles required versus cinematics, where it's almost like exaggerated. It's almost like exaggerated, stylized exaggeration. That's what I like to call. You have very fundamental grounded work, but you're pushing it in the areas that need to be, you know, appealing.
And a lot of rules, a lot of recipes, a lot of formulas. Like, I put this on 5s and I hold on 3s, right? And it's and it's automatic. You're just like, because you know when I was doing TV, same thing. I was like, oh, this is the rule: pose. I'll copy a pose, bring it over, just push a few things so there's a moving hold, 3 frames, and next, and then made my blocking, you know, the idea go through much quicker.
Exactly.
But it was like simple rules, and then it helped me become a much faster animator, because then I knew how to tackle the shot quicker.
Exactly. But yeah, I felt at home in cinematics. Like I remember it felt like RealFX again. Gotcha. And that was the environment I was craving, you know, just being pushed, but also, you know, approaching your shot from a very reference type of way or drawing type of way, and getting everybody in a room and just hammering down on the planning and the collaboration. Like I dug that a lot, and just the process all the way through. Like I felt really, really comfortable making that transition. So
so not so much something you had to you had to learn. It was something kind of like you said, back to home.
Yeah, back to home, but also like pushing my muscles now.
Right.
It's like, okay, like I remember this is round 2, right? It's like first I was in boot camp, and second I came back and I was like, okay, let me really try to really refine and polish my workflow here, you know, in the time being. So it was really cool.
That's awesome.
I love cinematics.
Yeah. So from Hearthstone, what did you jump on from then? Was that
I
some of the
jumped
Overwatch stuff?
onto, yeah. I got my first Overwatch role, which I loved. It was Reinhardt. It was called Honor and Glory, and that was probably I think it was my only Overwatch one, but I really enjoyed Honor and Glory. And then from there, I went to a bunch of in-game cinematics for World of Warcraft because World of Warcraft it was there from the beginning, and
Yeah.
all their stories are being told from in-game cinematics. So we had a bunch of that work coming, and I got thrown onto a lot of that stuff as well. And then I got lucky. Oh yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I lied. The Overwatch, I did another Overwatch one with Junkrat and Roadhog.
Yeah. So at the
So,
very end
yeah,
of your reel. Yeah.
for doing their level of Junkertown, their release of Junkertown. And we
Gotcha.
had a month. We had a month to do that, that was insane. And it was a team of like 5 animators, and I got chosen to work on there because
Very
the director
cool.
saw kind of like my pushed anime style, and they were like, "Well, Junkrat's pretty loosey goosey,
Nice.
So let's put him on there too."
Well, that's one of the things I have in my notes here too, because I think it was the stuff for Overwatch, because it kind of reminded me back when you said, "Hey, I'm at RealFX. Hey, what can I work on?"
Right.
And it was that nice acting, subtle. You came to iAnimate, and you see that heavily in your Overwatch stuff, which was awesome. And then I noticed the what was it? The Junkyard what?
Junkertown.
Junkertown,
Yeah.
and then how cartoony and push that was. So you got this.
Right.
You have a nice variety on your reel, and then you have the singing and stuff. So it's just it's pretty cool to see the variety you have.
The range. It's really like
right.
it also shows range, and I think a lesson is that as an artist that is growing, right? You got more experience. It gave you the advantage to try other things, go on different projects, and get more range in your reel to show that you can do more than just as every animator is like, here, I have this, I'm ready, I want to animate. Great, that's cool. Right. But what else can you do? How much room? How far can you take a shot? How far can you go with a style?
Yeah,
these are questions that a studio or the director is looking for. It's like, cool, he can animate, but could he animate in our style, or could he push it?
Yeah,
you want to have that on your reel.
Right.
I mean, you have a great reel. I mean, that's
I was gonna say, then the other stuff you have on there is the in-game stuff.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is the fidelity in that, because it's not like you're watching these cinematics and all of a sudden it's this jarring difference. There's a high fidelity in your game stuff that just looks really solid too. So it's just, nice variety.
Thanks. Yeah, I really dig that about, especially the cinematics, where they take it from one style, which is I beg to work on the World of Warcraft cinematics just because they were so hyper real, right? And I think that's what I'm kind of pursuing now. I'm trying to get into the more practicing the more hyper real department. The only thing that I think I haven't done yet is VFX, which I know is more hyper real, but I want to challenge myself with that. And I encourage my students to do that as well. Like when they're starting a new shot or approaching something new, I say, try to think of 2 things. 1, what haven't you seen before? And 2, what haven't you done before? So it's like, try adding something new to the mix on your demo reel. Okay, you do comedy, that's great. You make me laugh. That's awesome. You're the funny guy. You're the life of the party, right? Think of something more dramatic, man, or maybe something more suspenseful, or maybe something that pantomimes or communicates, or musical, right? It's like, try to add that variety to your demo reel, not only to break out of like your zone, but to challenge yourself with something new, right? To develop, to learn like new skill set when it comes to performing.
Yeah, new timing, because that subtle is going to be way different than that push cartoony.
Yeah, and a lot of studios like DreamWorks, for example, have you seen their films? Like every new film that they release, it's all a different style, right? It's all something new, and it's something that, especially like Pixar and Disney, they look for that, especially when they're coming out with new films. They're trying to try something new, put a new spin on it, give it a new look. And then of course you got the indie scene, which goes totally crazy, right? And then now you've got 2D hopefully making a big comeback, like Klaus, and you're like, holy shit. I mean, I'm sorry. It was like, you're just like, holy, like, it was like, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
There's something that could be learned from the traditional style as well.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
And all these things, like, do you put that part of your lectures, of your lessons?
Oh, yeah.
Like how, like what are kind of little things that you do to infuse that?
Oh yeah, I basically look a lot at the classics too. I look a lot at 2D because I think there's a lot of good discipline that comes from 2D as well. I took a class with Randy Haycock, amazing traditional animator, and he always talked about motion and emotion, how things are very pose eccentric, and how you can just get so much appeal out of just your poses alone. That's why I throw drawings, traditional drawings up there, and I'm like, just feel the essence of this character. Look at the eyes, look at the body pose, look at the story that's being promoted here, and infuse, because I'm still learning about breakdowns. Like even today, I'm like, I hear breakdowns, but I don't quite understand it until I actually apply it to my pose to pose. I'm like, okay, I get it now. And I'm still working on it, right? I haven't got it figured out, but I still remind myself by infusing traditional 2D into how blocking is done in order to help with less of a headache when it comes to splining and polishing. Because I think sometimes students and me, myself, get lost in our prep and our planning to when we get into that zone of that splining, that I don't want to reanimate what I've already done.
Right.
I want to push what my foundations have already started. Right. It's like, I feel you can get a lot of that by going back to learning how these guys animated traditionally. So I put a lot of that. I put a lot of examples. Of course, film is always the best thing to do. Like you don't have to work hard or exercise to watch film. It's just really observing and watching and understanding. And like Ted T always said, he goes, there's something that catches your interest or your eye about a certain shot or a certain film. It's like finding that one wildlife animal when you're hiking or something. It's like, it's a rare opportunity. So take it, study it, learn why it interests you, and see how you can apply that to your work. Right. So it's really just observing, right? Yeah. I love Ted.
I mean, it's Ted. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Ted. He's like Yoda, Like I'm like,
he's the oldest of all. He's the oldest of all of us.
I'm actually binge watching Ted right now. Yeah,
nice, very cool.
I want to binge watch of the Vault, which is great.
That's awesome. Very cool.
I mean, he's been. I mean, like as a student, you're like, hold on, wait a minute. This instructor who's done like so much, he's like at one of the best studios in the world, working on some of the best projects in the world. Yet he's still going through the iAnimate vault and just feeding on this knowledge. And that is, again, what iAnimate is about. We are here to learn, share, and grow. And we too apply these things. We don't just like, oh yeah, cool. I know it all. I do everything. We are actually studying, and we're actually looking and learning and talking to each other, to other supervisors, other directors, other artists that are really bringing their A game. We use the vault ourselves, and our students, you have access to the vault. You should be watching every class. You should be watching as much as you can. If you're taking a lunch break, watch a lecture. Watch one. Just watch one.
I would encourage that, especially to everybody. And I think that's something a lot of students and me myself at the time underestimated was the vault. Like the vault is just a archive of knowledge and history and just teachings from all these great instructors that work places. So just like listening to a podcast, if you're listening to me right now, go listen to the vault as well. Right. It's like, it's just, you don't even have to like necessarily watch it unless they're doing a demonstration, but just to hear their knowledge being talked about, like talking about, like what they do, how they approach a shot, how they, feel something out.
Where do you start when you create a shot? Let me ask you this, right? I'm going to throw you into the challenge, right? When you're going to think of a shot, like where do you start? Where is that essence? Where do you start before animating? How do you think? What do you do? What do you say? What are you asking? Like, where do you start a shot?
Okay. So like if it's like a voice shot, because there's kind of two ways. If I do like a mechanical shot, I'll usually just draw like a couple of thumbnails to get a feeling and a shape and a sense of weight. And I like to play with timing if it's mechanical. If it's a voice line, like first thing I do is I listen to that voice line about 100 times. I get familiar with it. I put the Disney formula, I rinse and repeat. I make sure I've got it implemented in my brain and I could hit every syllable, every breath. I know where the beat's at. And then what John Collins told me, and I really learned a lot of this on Blizzard when I worked in games. John Collins is he's a Pixar vet. He's one of our outsourcing supervisors on Team 4. Awesome guy. He said, Brad, just lock yourself in a room. Not like that. But he goes, but just make sure that you can get out. But just
I can't get out.
Cut yourself right. Yeah, cut yourself off from all distractions on the outside. Hit that audio. Just take your camera right now and just record and just explore. See what happens. Do your take the way you would like it. Do it another way. Try to discover what you haven't thought about, but just, be free. Let your emotions take over and put everything that you can into that, and come back later and then watch everything and see what works, what doesn't work, what was cool about this, what was cool about that. And just, it's basically just recall. You're taking apart all of your acting and your emotion and finding out what works and what rings true. What makes this shot or whatever you're working on, what's the core essence of what you're trying to get across. And I found out when I did that, even though it's a little time consuming, but it's worth it, because you're discovering something that you yourself might have not thought through in the beginning. You're just doing research, and just like every great actor who does 1 or 2 or possibly 10 or 5 takes, you'll find it when you actually start putting the work into, you yourself as an animator, like what rings true. Like Don Bluth said it best when he just said, I think, and I show this with my class all the time, when he said, like, the purest essence of like art is getting all your emotions and finding out how to translate that to the screen. Right. It's basically just translating what you're feeling here to there, and I was like, yeah, that's basically what shooting reference and getting down to the essence of who you are as an animator is all about. Right. Because not only do you want to, do justice to that voice acting line, but you also want to show off who you not show off, but more or less show who you are as an individual. What does your personality bring to this?
Right.
I think a lot of studios are looking for that as well. Right. They're almost looking as for your individual voice as an artist to see, like, how can we bring this on our team to shake things up? A little bit. So I do a lot of reference.
I want to follow up on that in here, because one of the things that, you're unique in this is that you've done feature, as I mentioned, you've cinematics, but you've also done in-game stuff. You teach both workshops in our feature as well as our games.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of cool. Huh?
Yeah, that's very cool.
I was about to say, I do teach games. Yeah, too. That is pretty cool.
So kind of piggybacking on that, how does that workflow similar as well as different for you when you tackle on a games in-game stuff?
Oh, in-games is pretty cool too, because just like a good actor, like the player is a big new introduction into your whole factor of animation, because when you're doing features, somebody's watching. When you're doing games, somebody's playing, right? So somebody's interacting with your animation. So it's more of a tighter connection when it comes to games. I look at games, I look at like the people that play them, the characters that you play are pretty much based on the real world, depending on their laws or principles. Could be in space, could be underwater, could be wherever. But a lot of the body and the weight comes into play when showing who this character is, whether they're attacking or running. But you can get a lot of emotion and a lot of personality, even in a run cycle or even in walking, or jumping too. A lot of that shows off. And especially too, when you're taking, like, say if you're going through our school and you see Lisa, who's like the poster child for our games workshop, what can you do to give Lisa, like, to make Lisa feel different than what's already been established, right? How can you add more emotion, whether that be ability, a disability, where she's confident, heroic? A lot of that comes from idle to attacking to walking. And that's what I've learned about with game animation, is that a lot of the mechanics transition to each other fluently. And that's the stuff that I really got to work on as an animator. It's more body mechanics, more there's strength in posing. There's also strength in attacking, medium, low, and heart attacks as well too, which I've also discovered. And just the initial reaction that the player wants to feel when you initiate that button code is what you have to project through your animation versus the moment that I want to express to you. It's like, how does the player react versus what you're showing them in cinematic? I think that's like a big separation between the two genres,
Cool.
And because, and I tell all our animators, like, you want to really learn. I highly, because I started in features. Well, everyone thinks like, my career started in games. Actually, I started in TV and then did feature. And then from feature, I got an interest in games and I went to game cinematics and really, it really just kind of exploded from there. But everyone should study feature film, because feature film is really about the performance, and you sit down, right? Like you said, it's all about sitting down, eating popcorn and watching. If you know how to craft a performance, what game animators need to learn is this, like we all often focus on the mechanics, but how do you put performance in a 15 frame cycle or 30 frames or 45 frames, doesn't really matter how long, but how do you put personality in an animation that loops? Okay, because everyone says you could put personality, but how? Where do you put the personality? And you also led into the breakdowns, where the breakdowns are just as important as the golden poses or the key poses. Yeah. But there is this little piece of moment where you could put great personality in these animation, and those who understand how have a huge leverage, a huge gap. They just literally jumped a huge gap because very few are focusing on that. They're focusing on making a cool attack, a powerful attack, but they forgot that this is a character that I want to live through.
Right.
There's a character that I'm witnessing their story. Well, now the 3 C's, right? Control, camera, and character, right? Is in my hand. I'm supposed to live through this character. I want to feel this character's expression as the character is attacking, as the character is getting hit or blocking or dodging. Exactly. I want to not dodge. I want to live the dodge as it is an exciting dodge where it's near miss or it's calculated and they're happy to do it or whatever it is. That animation is dodge is the mechanics. And, if you saw some of the stuff where many of the foundation of the stuff that I've done starts from, we talked about this in many old podcasts. You are the animator, you're the actor, you're the director. The animator is the technician. Well, there's the mechanics, the expression, the gesture, and then the imagery, the outcome, right? Those are core to developing a really great character. Games, you want to learn performance. You need to understand performance. That will make you a really great animator, because just making nice mechanics, that's easy. Well, I mean, it's not easy, but that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Comparatively.
Which is over there. Easy clap. I got
that. I'm getting all heated up again. You guys.
I know, right? Oh, I love it. I love the fire. It's like he's cutting a promo, which is great. I feel like I'm gonna one-on-one with you at Saturday night. It's like be there.
Be there, man.
With your mechanics, with your animation. That's how I promote my classes.
That's right.
Be there. No. Yeah, that's I love all everything that you're saying, Richard, and I couldn't agree more. Especially when it comes to like games like Overwatch, or say if you're working on a brand new game, like that's all the bread and butter. It's just the showmanship of what this game is about, who these characters are. Because the first thing that you want to do with your gamers is you want to get their attention. You want to be like, ooh, what is this? Right. And then the next thing is, what's the gameplay like? Right. Is this experience, or is this showmanship just as awesome as the cinematics themselves? Right. Can I expect this from the game? Can I live in this world? Can I breathe through this character? And doing like ultimate attacks or finishers, just like in fighting games too, you want that energy. You want that connection between the player and the character to feel that moment, because that's what makes gaming so exciting. You're playing with your friends, but you want to take charge. You want to, like I want to feel that combo. I want to feel that finisher. I want to feel like I just accomplished their goals as well as mine. It's an interactive experience, and animation is that connection, right? It's just, you gotta cross that barrier. And a good heavy cinematic background, which I was fortunate enough to have transitioning into games, really helped me, especially even now. It's still helping me on my journey.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. We got a couple more minutes and we'll wrap this up. But I want to, we're going to go a little bit different route here.
Sure.
We've looked at Brad, the animator. I'm going to look at Brad, the person here. Any favorite games or characters that you've played?
Any favorite games or characters I played? Oh man, that's a tough one, dude. I just finished Resident Evil 8. That was an interesting game. I love first persons because we're also working on a first person shooter.
Very cool.
I'm a big Overwatch nutball. That's why I got into the Overwatch team. As soon as I got into cinematics, I didn't play a lot of Overwatch until I got into Blizzard. And I was like, oh, I love this game. This is this is taking over my life. I already got over 1,000 hours in it. So now I'm working on it. I actually finished. I'm a big fan of indie developer games. I love pixel games. There's a new game that came out called Narita Boy. And if you know me, I'm all about late 80s or early 80s, retro early 90s stuff. And that's what that game is all about. It's
awesome.
Got the techno, it's got this techno sword, which I was like, dude, this is dope. And it's a platformer, right? It's a very quick combo platformer game, like a Metroidvania type of game.
Oh, awesome.
I'm a huge fan of like 2D as well. So Streets of Rage 4 came out. I'm a sucker for that. The things that Lizard Cube and all those guys did animating that wise. I'm a fan of the beat 'em ups. I use that a lot in my instruction, my games workshops. I love like showing the difference between light, medium, and strong attacks and the framing in between those and how you can get a lot of the personality into attacks. Yeah, dude, like Hollow Knight. That's a huge one on my list. I can't wait for the sequel, Silk Song, dude. I am so jazzed for that one. I'm like, just give it to me now, right? And but the awesome thing about those games is not only do I play them and enjoy them, but I go back and I'm like, why did I like that? Like, what was so cool about this attack or this moment? What animation felt really great? I like to break down and then now analyze them too, because it's just animation's coming out of the wet works, right? And like we're just getting dumped with all this beautiful artwork. And not only is it entertaining, but it's also a great thing to study, right? And to frame by frame be like, why is this so cool? Why does this look great? Absolutely. Yeah, big first person shooters and platformers. That's my go-to.
That's your jam. Very cool.
That's my jam. Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, Brad, really appreciate your time on this podcast. It's really neat. Like you said, full circle. You've been with us as a student. You're teaching in here. The stuff that you have on your reel from Blizzard and everything else is really, really cool. So it was very neat to get you in on this podcast and chat with you. So thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you guys first and foremost. And then for everybody who's listening, you could be an instructor too. So never say never. You never know. Right. You never know what's going down the road. But thank you to Richard for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Larry, of course, for hosting the podcast. I love it. Can't wait for it to come out. And thank you for your voice too, Larry.
Awesome.
Big round of applause for Larry's voice, man. I can't compete with that. Like that's
no one can.
One sexy voice, right? Like, we're built for this, man. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Having me on your show, guys.
Killer.
Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. And with that, we're out.